An alarming surge of crime in Gqeberha has now spilled over into schools from armed robberies to brazen muggings on school grounds. The safety of pupils and staff in various areas is at risk. In 2023, 10 schools closed just before the final exams. Newzroom Afrika Gqeberha has more.
The high crime rate in Gqeberha has somewhat become the norm. The surprise, however, is that schools have now become targets. Out of fear, this staff member who has felt the wrath of the criminals has asked us to keep him anonymous.
Late last year, they began now to get into the school.
This local high school in Gqeberha has been hit more than 4 times, with 2 robberies 15 minutes apart from each other at some point.
Took my phone, took other people's cell phones and so. And then that group went out. That was the first group, And then the second group, that one was so vicious.
Same day?
Same day. It was just a matter of about 10, 15 minutes. One boy came to me to demand a cell phone, and my cell phone was already taken at the time. And then I told him that the phone has been taken already, and then he hit me with a gun in my face. It was terrible. Even today, I'm still traumatized.
The northern areas, known for gang violence, are not exempt from this chilling trend. Center High School, a promising school in a crime-infested neighborhood, has become a haven for gang-related crimes.
The main issues regarding crime is the fact that there's gangsterism and mostly there's children that are involved with gangs or they're friends with these people, and now the innocent ones, they are also targeted.
One of the staff members was hijacked on school grounds. 2 years later, he is still recovering from the trauma at home.
He was entering the gate of the school and a car followed him to the school, and they saw a chance to get to him where they get him out of the car. He flipped himself off the scene and they took the car and sped off.
The learners now bear the brunt of these brazen attacks, especially the matric pupils. Without intervention, after-school classes could be a thing of the past.
We would love to have after classes, more after classes, but some of us, we can't come because we fear for our safety. They can't come to school because they fear if they're going to be gunned down, if they're going to get robbed.
The Department of Education in the Eastern Cape says it has set aside an additional 59 million rands, as well as other initiatives to beef up security at schools in the province, especially in Gqeberha. Most of the schools have asked for South African police services to be brought on board with regular patrols in hotspots. For Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405, I'm Gqeberha in Gqeberha.
And the Eastern Cape Education MEC Fundile Gade joins me now. MEC, good morning to you and welcome to the program. Thank you very much for your time. 5 months, 131 robberies at gunpoint. Teachers afraid to go to school. Some of them just don't show up at all after an incident. What is crime intelligence telling you about who these individuals are?
We have sat with the, good morning first and foremost, Emma. We have sat with the justice cluster and also the security cluster of the province, because for the past recent times, Nelson Mandela area and also Beachy area around Amtata has been declared as a crime-prone zones, and therefore we had to locate our institutions of learning within the context of that. We then identified that there are gangsterism, of course, in the northern areas. There are also a network of crimes that are happening within the area of Gqeberha. So we then put up our own intervention as a province in terms of security guards and out of the budget that we've allocated for that particular area, and identified 138 schools for us to make a significant intervention in that particular regard. One of the reasons that made us to take an initiative is that once you have got security issues, you run a risk of not meeting your own targets as a sector. So it's no longer an issue of the security cluster now. It's an issue of how government must make sure that you stabilize education in the province, especially on hotspot areas. So we have gone back to the drawing board, reactivate the safety and liaison department, and also the justice cluster, so that you can be able to make sure that all those that are found can be prosecuted within a short space of time. Because it's quite very easy in Gqeberha to see people being butchered and killed. So it's of course a reasonable fear from the educators in particular of going to school out of that kind of a crisis that we're confronted with there.
MEC, you talk about this, what sounds like a massive effort with all of the addended agencies, justice, security, all of the rest, to try and put your heads together to come up with a plan to not only prevent, but to deal with some of the causation factors. And you mentioned, gangsters and gang violence and so on. Have the police told you about any successes in arrest? I mean, it would seem that if you're putting, your best brains together, they do have an operational plan, that we would start to see some fruit the fruits of your labor effectively over the last couple of months. So just talk to us about whether there has been any impact, because it doesn't sound like it. These numbers are escalating in terms of violent acts.
Yes, they are trying their level best. Emma. But of course, on the basis of it being a bit of a syndicate crime network, it will take them time to actually yield a positive spin-off that is expected out of the rollout plan that we have put in place. That's why we then took a responsibility as a Department of Education to say, look, let's deploy 1,000 security guards in the province. And of course, more than 50% of that must go to Gqeberha, so that you can have a security guard in the morning and a security guard in the evening, so that you don't rely solely on the performance of other sector departments, because we have a responsibility of teaching and learning in that particular environment. So we can't allow the assistance of performance to determine what must happen in terms of the throughput in education. So we will meet them halfway, but of course, we must make sure that we secure our back in terms of saving the lives of those kids and also saving the lives of the workforce that has been deployed in the institutions of learning in that particular instance.
I want to share with our viewers just some of the incidents. A hijacking outside school. A few teachers arrived in an SUV waiting for the gate to be unlocked. Then they're approached by 3 armed suspects. These suspects take their belongings and then take the car. The car is then found a little bit later on. Others, are approached on school premises. The robbers apparently are very, very young. Some of the teachers narrate that some of the people attacking them and being behind some of these attacks are as young as their learners. So I put them at, early to sort of late teens. It's a situation that has really seemed to have spiraled completely out of control.
Yes, it is. That's why last year, beginning of last year, Emma, we as a Department of Education took a decision to roll out a plan of fencing of schools in Gqeberha, about 40 of them, so that we can at least identify strangers within the radius of the school and make sure that at least there is a bit of an appreciation on how any individual can be seen to be inside. That was one of the massive plans that we have in the province sometime last year. But it seems as if it has not yielded the results. As I said to you, it is not just about strangers within the premises of school, but it has got an element of syndicate, an element of network, and an element of security and sovereignty of the province. So hence, at times, you needed a bit of security forces to look very closely to the space, in particular in Gqeberha, and also Mtekezweni and BG area in Namtata, because there have been prevalent areas where people have been killed, and at times schools are not going well. There is of these incidents that I'm talking about.
Before I let you go, MEC, so you've got this massive budget. I mean, I'm just saying massive, but who knows if it's really going to make a dent in terms of your needs. But 59 million, we understand, is now being allocated to upgrade security at the schools. There would be things like access control systems, panic buttons that will be linked to police stations. You're also talking about the installation of surveillance or CCTV cameras. The areas we understand are worst afflicted are KwaZakele, Zwide and Motherwell. These are all in GQ. Can you share with us, for the benefit of those teachers and learners and parents in those three areas specifically, when it's likely that they will be able to see and experience these security updates?
The HOD has already been given instruction and to make procurements to that process to unfold. Hence, we were talking about a week ago about an allocated 59 million budget. They are busy working on that, and fortunately for us, we have already approached the office of the Premier in terms of the recruitment process, as they are at the center of ensuring that we manage and control the human resource deployment within the provincial government space. And we have been already given that permission to do that. So in a space of a week from now, that process is going to be unfolding because the advert has already been given out so that we can be able to make sure that at least there is no disruption that could create an aftertaste in terms of preparing for the second quarter now, as we were affected before we write examinations of the last academic year. It was quite very bad, because we have to relocate kids from the hotspot areas into some areas where they can write examinations and also teachers. So that's why we then said, well, let's be proactive in this instance and begin to be a bit human and ensure that the safety of the examinations of the kids becomes paramount, not just for government, but for the people of the province and also for the people of the country, because that's where the investment in terms of the human resource development strategy of the country relies on. So we can't allow criminals to dictate what must be happening in the country.
MEC for Education in the Eastern Cape, Fundile Gade, joining me. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.